Hi, my name is Alfred Nicolas D. Fernandez, and I'm going to discuss is about globalization and human development. For intended learning outcome, the students are expected to 1. Explain the globalization and human development is, discover the major factors in globalization, analyze the effects of globalization, and lastly, evaluate the positive and negative effects of globalization. Going back to the topic, what is globalization? So, globalization is the process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and government worldwide. While the human development is the concept of development that has to do with creation and improving living conditions where people can develop their full potential, can have a long and healthy life, can have an access to appropriate education. Globalization is important for human development because there is a strong relationship between globalization and human development. So first is globalization worsen income inequality. Why? Because it has made the rich richer while making the poor poorer. The second is globalization involves goods, services, and economic resources of capital, technology, and data. And lastly, the expansion of global market becomes liberalized because the activities of the exchange of goods and funds. So here's the major factors in globalization. So number one is the removal of cross-border trade barriers. So it would expand the market for goods from the developing world and increase investment in labor sector. Second is advances in transportation and communication technology, steamship, jet engine, and container ships. So the transportation boosts trade in a goods and contribute to the global economy as a cluster of service sector. And three, the rise of the internet and mobile phones. Mobile technology did not only improve business, but it also transformed personal relationship. The fourth one is the increased global interaction come to the growth of international trade, ideas, and culture. However, its conflicts and diplomacy are also large parts of the history of globalization and modern globalization. So we have the four basic aspects of globalization. So we have the trade and transaction, which include the both goods, which is the tangible product that are physically shipped, and the services, which is intangible commodities such as tourism and financial services. So second is the capital and investment movement. Capital flows refers to the movement of money for the purpose of the investment, trade, or business operation. The third one is the migration and movement of people, which is increase the migration of the most visible and significant aspect of the globalization. And lastly is the dissemination of knowledge, and it allows countries to gain easier access to foreign knowledge. So let's proceed to the effects of globalization. Global warming. which warmer temperature over time changing weather pattern and disrupting the usual balance of nature. Cross-boundary water. It is a water supplies have the potential to cause social unrest and spark conflict within and between countries. Air pollution can affect lungs development and is implicated in the development of asthma and so on. Overfishing of the ocean. When too many fish are taken out of the ocean, it creates an imbalance that can erode their food web. So when did the globalization begin? Globalization began about 60,000 years ago. At the beginning of human history, throughout time, human societies exchanging trade has been growing since the old times. Different civilizations have developed commercial trade routes and experienced cultural exchanges. This phenomenon has continued throughout history, through military conquest and exploration of expedition, but it wasn't until technological advances in the transportation and communication that globalization speeded up. And it was particularly after the second half of the 20th century that world trades accelerated in such dimension and speed that the term globalization started to be commonly used. Here's the areas of globalization. First is economic globalization. It is the development of the trade system within tra- um, transnational actors such as corporations or the NGOs. Cultural globalization. It refers the interpenetration of culture, which as a consequence means nations adopt principles, beliefs, and costumes of other nations, losing their unique culture to a unique globalized sovereign culture. Political globalization. It is the development and growing influence of international organizations such as the UN or the WH means governmental action take place at an international level. Sociological globalization. It is an information moves almost in the real time, together with the interconnection and interdependence of events and their consequences. People move all the time too, mixing and integrating different societies. So five, technological globalization. So technolo- technological globalization it is the phenomenon by which millions of peoples have interconnected and thanks to the power of the digital world via platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, Skype, or YouTube. So here's the benefit of globalization. So number one is free trade. It is a reciprocally developed economies all over the world. Second, it creates jobs. It makes company more competitive and lowers prices for consumer. Cultural intermingling. There is a cultural intermingling and each country is learning more about the countries and a various form of interaction between individuals that goes against a particular society's cultural. Distance is no longer a barrier. It's for many services to happen, and it's quick dissemination of information through the internet. Simplify, simplify, simply finance regulation. It would eliminate mediators and break down the barriers between the world's financial center. And number six is there is now a worldwide market. I would say that there is no worldwide market. It's for the companies and consumer who have access to products from different countries. So lastly is the increase in human exchanges, such as migration or traveling, and these human exchanges have contributed to the development of cultural exchanges. So this means that different custom and habits shared among local communities have been shared among communities. So negative effects of globalization. Number one, cultural loss. A specific cultural characteristic from some countries are disappearing from language to tradition or even specific industry. Income inequalities. It is a disproportional wealth and trades that benefit parties differently. Unemployment. For developed countries, it's that jobs are lost and transferred to lower cost countries. Workers in developed countries, like US face pay cut demands from employers who threaten the export jobs. This has created a culture of fear for many middle-class workers who have little leverage in this global game. Serious environmental problems, such as depletion of natural resources, deforestation, and the destruction of ecosystems and loss of biodiversity, putting our technologies at risk. Coun- Countries like China, they put our technologies at risk for being copied or stolen. Seven is the exploitation of labor and increase. In a human trafficking, prisoners and child workers are used to work in human conditions. Safe, Safety standards are ignored to produce cheap goods. So, in the end of this presentation, I would like to conclude that globalization is important for human development only after certain level of income growth. Also, the results indicate that globalization exacerbates income inequality is for all income groups, but the relation does not hold when testing for different income levels. That's all. Thank you.